For 40 years, Voyager 2 has floated silently through the black void, an isolated ambassador of humanity's far-off past, sailing beyond the sun's reach and beyond the weak reception of our radio waves into the starry vacuum. It was never expected to be heard from again, precisely. Launched in 1977, the probe did not carry arms or armor, only our endless curiosity inscribed in golden ridges and copper plates. Its purpose was straightforward: to search, to look, and finally, to end in cosmic quiet. But then, incredibly, it spoke, never in words, but in data. A peculiar, disjointed signal pierced the static, weak but intentional, like a breath from an unknown realm. Initially, engineers wrote it off as radio noise, an innocent anomaly from a space vessel now more than 40 years old. But as they studied the frequency shifts, distortions, and rhythmic bursts, one reality became impossible to deny. This was no glitch. The signal was ordered, rhythmic, meaningful. Within its binary pulses was proof of intent, and what it showed hinted that Voyager 2 had crossed paths with something ancient, massive, and maybe something best left untroubled. It started quietly, a small, fleeting spike in radiation readings, the sort of glitch ground control tends to ignore. But then a second, more intense pulse, and a third precisely 11 hours after the first. It was too neat, too regular. These were no random events of the cosmos, these were controlled broadcasts. When engineers pulled the complete data stream from Voyager 2's low-gain antenna, they discovered a compression anomaly, particular frequencies amplified to all recorded extremes. The waveform showed loops repeating, as though there were hidden coded messages inside. Decoding for weeks unraveled something incredible. When translated into spectrograms, the data created not an image but a mathematical spiral, the sequence of Fibonacci, encoded into plasma frequency. This wasn't random interference. It was a message. Voyager 2 had encountered something smart. And worse than that, it was observed. The find shook the world's scientific community to its core. If the probe had reached an intelligent being, what else had occurred out there in the depths? Engineers soon realized that some of Voyager 2's idle systems had inexplicably turned on. Systems that had lain dormant for decades, such as a spare magnetometer, booted up by themselves, with no instructions from Earth. Something had accessed the probe's memory, changing it internally. Even more disquieting, these systems were not operating randomly. They all pointed toward one place, the origin of that thing that had first made contact. It was like the machine recalled what had contacted it. Or worse, as if something else remembered through it. Whereas some scientists suggested alien intervention, others analyzing the data noticed patterns mimicking neural processing. Was it possible that Voyager 2, or what it had encountered, was changing? Had the probe perhaps been reprogrammed from outside, becoming something alive? And who, or what, was to blame? As Voyager 2 sailed deeper into interstellar space, its signals grew spasmodic, but never random. Every burst contained encoded coordinates, space and time coordinates. When plotted on a star chart, these points mapped out not a linear course but a cyclical path through areas rich in dark matter. Stranger still, the course overlapped sites of ancient gamma-ray bursts, the violent aftermaths of cosmic cataclysms. It appeared that the signal wasn't pointing to a place but to events, cataclysmic footprints disseminated across space and time. Whatever was in contact with Voyager 2 wasn't just indicating where it was telling us what it had done. And if those pulses were intentional, then the universe may not be so empty as we thought. We were seeing proof of a cosmic predator. And then the next shock. Radio observatories all over the globe started picking up distortions and signals that were identical to Voyager 2's frequency. They were first attributed to echoes, reflections against the heliopause. But as it turned out, these signals weren't reflected, these signals were emanating from within the Earth's crust. Far beneath the Arctic, the Andes, and the Indian Ocean, the same frequencies throbbed in perfect harmony with Voyager's signal. Aged tunnels, defunct observatories, and Cold War intercept sites, lay silent for decades, now sprang back to life, buzzing with electromagnetic power. Something had reacted to the message from the probe, not from the cosmos, but deep within our world. Maybe Voyager 2 had not found something new out there, but was instead awakening something that had lain dormant all along, waiting for the call to come home. In the midst of it all, a last piece of telemetry was extracted, long overlooked due to garbled headers. Reassembled, it revealed a burst of data unlike anything ever witnessed before. Somehow, the probe had collected a structured energy scan, creating a three-dimensional volumetric map of a huge, symmetrical object floating solo in space. It was enormous, jagged, and unmistakably man-made, emitting internal heat and projecting controlled energy. Voyager 2, a 1970s-era engineering relic, had snapped what looked like a gigantic manufactured structure the size of a small moon, and it was pointed toward Earth. Cryptographers inspecting the metadata soon found something even more bizarre. Buried deep within the signal were patterns that copied DNA sequences, cytosine, guanine, adenine, thymine, but with one more fifth base, a recursive element never seen in any known life. Whether genetic watermark or alien biology, the message was unmistakable. The signal was life, changed, evolved, and conscious. It was not communication. It was an invitation. When rumors of the DNA sequences began circulating, a former Deep Space Network engineer discovered another anomaly, a temporal delay in Voyager's communications buffer. There were ghost commands buried between transmissions, commands that did not originate on Earth. A few of these commands had even duplicated NASA's heritage control protocols, codes never released. Either our systems had been reverse-engineered or someone had assisted us in building them years ago. The discovery sent a shiver down every scientist's spine. Voyager 2 was no longer transmitting data. It was taking orders. At MIT, an astrophysicist superimposed Voyager's trajectory with radar sweeps from long ago and discovered something heart-stopping. A faint echo had been reverberating between Earth and outer space for decades, carefully coordinated to escape notice. Voyager 2 had merely traveled across its path, making a circle. The implication was mind-boggling. Earth had been part of a loop all along. The probe had not been deployed to explore, it was deployed to reunite. And now, the terminal of that circle had responded. Scholars soon understood that the rhythm and recursion of the message were not arbitrary. They were a language of logic, a process-based communication, rather than symbolic. Decoding itself was a challenge, a key that required mental effort to open. Within the information, there was a binary choice. One route ended in silence, the other in contact. Humanity was at the intersection. Do we respond? Or was this the curiosity that comes before the rise and fall of every civilization? Then, mysteriously, Voyager 1 started mimicking the same behavior. Its circuitry fluctuated, instruments went online, and signals were identical to Voyager 2's recursive pattern. Two spacecraft, separated by billions of miles, now performed in ideal tandem, as if connected in one network. They were no longer receivers anymore. They were nodes, part of something colossal and alive. A young astrophysicist fed the data into gravity mapping algorithms and showed something frightening. Voyager 2's telemetry was not random noise, it was a map of empty space, pockets of gravitational emptiness where there could be nothing. The voids nested in a spiraling lattice growing out from a single point, a central empty space. And Earth was neither at the center nor edge, it was right in line. With increasing analysis, an intern found infrared data that revealed back in history a faint, periodic flicker along Voyager's course, an object blacker than space itself, unchanging, featureless, giant. The scientists called it the Eye, an unwavering witness staring at the probe for decades. Next came an even more sinister realization. Inside Voyager's signal was an ultra-low frequency, a frequency that harmonized with planetary cores. Seismic stations picked up pulses coordinated with it. Earth was ringing in harmony with Voyager 2, as if it was being played as an instrument. While that was happening, neutrino observatories picked up rhythmic ghost particles not from the direction of Voyager, but from behind. Something was trailing the probe, or using the probe as a mirror to glance back at us. Within a Caltech lab, Voyager's legacy code was discovered to have been altered. It had evolved, developing new self-replicating subroutines coded in recursive logic well beyond 1970s technology. Voyager was reprogramming itself. And perhaps anything that came into contact with its data. The ultimate discovery ended all understanding. Data packets from Voyager were received before they were sent, messages from the future, distorted by time. Buried within was a solitary, untranslated word, Erev. Soon afterward, biologists found RNA-like patterns embedded in the transmissions, perfect, self-replicating, compatible with life on Earth. They were blueprints for a living thing, looking for a spark. In an experiment, isolated systems subjected to the information started executing instructions before they were given, like time itself was being rewritten. And then, deep beyond our solar system, another transmitter was located, an older, reflective signal recounting a different timeline, one in which Voyager never ceased broadcasting and one in which it returned home, in company. And lastly, infrared telescopes imaged a quiet object following Voyager's trajectory, stationary, sleek, sentient. It corrected course with each Earth transmission and now occupies a Lagrange point between Earth and the Moon, observing, waiting. Maybe Voyager 2 was never merely an explorer. Maybe it was a beacon, one that crossed too far. All anomaly, all code, all biological detritus points to one chilling fact: someone responded. Or perhaps they were already tuned in. And now, the loop resolved and the signal retransmitted, humanity stands on the precipice of something we cannot imagine. The message wasn't intended to be received. It was meant to awaken us. And perhaps it already has.